Franzoni, you say that you believe in your heart after 3 decades of questions and doubts that you know the identity of your biological father. You claim your mother, Mrs. Bailey, has misled you, abandoned you, and hidden the truth from you your entire life. Now today, you've brought her to court to learn the results of a paternity test. Now, Mrs. Bailey, you argue that your daughter is completely wrong. You say you are here to open her eyes to a scheme that is confusing her and making her believe a lie. The man Ms. Franzoni believes to be her biological father is outside of the courtroom, and he'll be joining us shortly. Now, Ms. Franzoni, please tell the court why you've asked for the results of a paternity test today.
I grew up not knowing my dad, and I only had 2 moms in my life, my godmother and my mom. And it's just at some point there was some doubt about who exactly was my father. And my mom had introduced me to a gentleman, and I just did not feel in my heart that he was my father.
You say you felt nothing. What do you mean?
I felt nothing. Like, I just did not feel like he was my father. And I felt as if we had met in a different circumstance, he might have been trying to hit on me or take me out or something.
Really?
I mean, that's just the way that I felt, you know, and I just wasn't satisfied. And also, you know, my late grandmother told me a story that kind of sounded similar to the other stories that I heard about a gentleman, Mark Bomar. My mother met years ago, right around the time of my conception, and 9 months later, here was me.
So, Ms. Franzoni, specifically, why are you convinced this man is your father?
We have a lot of similar characteristics. Even when I tell him things about my life and things that I've had happen in my life, I just feel we have so much in common.
So you feel it's completely different than when you met the gentleman your mother introduced you to?
Right. And that's pretty much how I've always felt ever since I met him.
And your godmother, who's here with you today, she believes he is your father. All right, so let me hear from the co-plaintiff, Ms. Halems.
Yes, ma'am.
Please step up to the podium. Now, you believe that Mr. Bromar is possibly her father, and you have that feeling that could certainly be true, and you think he's a better candidate.
Yes, ma'am.
Please explain.
For one thing, when Miss Camille told me that she was pregnated, I asked her who she was pregnated by, and she said Mark Beaumont or the other
I did not say
candidate.
that. She's making that up. I did not tell her that.
So you remember distinctly her saying so?
Yes, I remember.
Explain.
distinctly.
What do you remember?
I remember because when she said it, I said, I know Mark Beaumont. I worked with him under.
If she remembered that, why did she just bring it up last year?
Both gentlemen could
If she remembered that 30
That's
years
right.
ago, why did
Right.
she just bring it up last year?
Is there a reason why you just brought it up?
To stick another dagger in my back against my daughter. As far as stories people have told her, that's just what they were, stories. We don't get to pick and choose our parents. I know I wasn't the best
It
mother.
ain't been
I
for
know, and I
years,
appreciate this woman for being there, because she was. But the meddling and the trying to compete
And the remembering.
for my daughter's love, this is my child. I had her.
She wants to
and
know
you need to
who-
stay in your lane.
She needs to.
That's
she
my
wants to
child.
know who her father is.
Well, okay,
That's just the
but
point.
you still need to stay in your
Well,
place.
they did a DNA.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you ain't the daddy. That's for damn sure.
You ain't been no mother.
So I've been
But
her
she
mother
has.
to the past.
And both of you
Ever
guys.
since
Ron,
she
can you
was
go
there.
stand in between them?
You ain't never been a mother. You should have went and had a
That's
baby.
right.
Tell
Listen to
that.
the judge.
Okay, please.
Listen to the judge, and you listen to the judge.
Ladies, wow. Is it paternity court or maternity court?
It's paternity court. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, what is obvious is that both of you love this young lady very, very much.
Yeah.
And both of you have had a hand in raising her. Now, you all can keep arguing and fussing and rehashing your own personal issues, Because I hate to tell you, all this back and forth, it's obvious to me and everybody in this courtroom that it don't have nothing to do with her. That has to do with some unfinished business you two have to deal with, and that's really not our business. Our business is making sure Miss Franzoni understands or gets the opportunity to figure out who her father is. And if she wants to test man number 1, 2, 3, 79, and 80, and they all agree to a test, why you got a problem with it? We understand that you had a relationship at some time with her mother, Miss Bailey.
Yes.
After a conversation with Ms. Halams, you recalled that perhaps you could potentially be Miss Franzoni's father.
Indeed.
If you could explain for us why you do believe it's possible that you're her father.
I was a bounty hunter back in the 80s, and I was looking for someone, and I ended up in her mother's building, and I was questioning her mother.
And you met her.
And her mother said, listen, I have a beautiful daughter that I would really like for you to meet. When she came in, I met her, and so we talked for a while and took her out to dinner, and we became intimate. I guess maybe the relationship lasted probably a couple months at the most. And something happened. I don't really remember exactly what it was, but something happened that drew us apart. And so...
and did you ever hear about Miss Bailey being pregnant? And if you did you think, oh, that could be my child? Or you just never heard anything else until Ms. Halams reached out to you?
Well, that's what I recall, was when Maxine, she said that she really didn't know if that was my child or not. So I asked her, I said, did the baby look like me? Or, you know, that's what she was saying that I said. But I don't remember those things. But by the same token, when she called me up to tell me about it, I said, well, let's forget about all of that. Just tell me what the situation is.
Okay.
And she said, well, this young lady wants to know if you're her father, and it's a possibility that you could be. And she said the reason why was because Renee had told her that it was between me and another fella.
When it comes to the paternity of 31-year-old Maxina Franzoni, Mr. Bomar, you are not her father. I'm sorry to you both.
I'm more sorry, you know, to him, because, you know, we
I
just had
know.
established a great relationship, and I know
And
he
y'all
really
can
wanted to
still
be, and I
have
just
that.
feel bad because the time that we did spend together, like, since we've known each other, you know, he made me feel, you know, like a princess, like Cinderella, like everything that every little girl can imagine wanting and having from their father. So it's just been a great experience on that level, and I don't want it to change either anyway. So.
Do you hear that, Mr. Bomar?
I told Maxina if it did come to the point where it was not, she could still feel like my daughter.
Sometimes out of the denial comes the blessing.
All right.
Do you hear me? Amidst all of this confusion, meddling, your side would say an attempt to help, you might say denial. Look what you've gotten. You're standing with your mother now. You still have Miss Halams that loves you very much, and I'm hoping that your mother and Miss Halams will take some time to sit down and just talk these things through.
We gonna be all right.
Mr. Harper, you say you are in financial shambles because you've been stuck paying support for a child you know is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you claim previous courts have denied your request for DNA testing because you allegedly signed an acknowledgement of paternity.
Yes, Your Honor.
You now claim to have evidence to prove you never signed that document.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Harper, you and your son, Mac Jr., claim Mr. Harper is denying paternity as an excuse for being a deadbeat father.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so, Mr. Harper, Senior, explain to me, how have you been affected by all of this?
Your Honor, I have been affected by this by first ending up in jail for 21 days.
Really? You
then-
spent 21 days in jail because of failure to pay support, or you gotten behind?
Yes, I had gotten behind in my child support. The police came to my house one day, knocked on my door, and told me that I was behind in child support. At that time, I didn't even know I was supposed to be paying child support.
You never received a letter?
I never received a letter.
A notice?
Nothing, Your Honor. They came, locked me up. I went to court. They asked me if I could pay the money what I needed for court at that time, what they were saying that I was behind in.
How much did they say you were behind?
At that time, I think I might have been like $500 behind.
All right.
In child support. And from then on, I was just working, trying to make enough money not to get locked up again.
He just told a story because when they sent me a letter, they told me he was $25,000 behind.
I have doubts that Junior is mine, all because of the fact that back when me and his mother worked, Miss Myrtle worked together, I have family and friends that told me that she had been messing around with other men behind my back. Whenever I would go to
Your
work.
Honor, that's
whenever
not
I would,
true.
Whenever
That's
I would
not
go
true.
to work. I even got proof that says that someone texted me and said, or called me and said that she might even have messed with one of my family members.
So you heard rumors that she was sleeping with other people?
Yes, Your Honor.
When I read in the court papers, there was an acknowledgement of paternity signed.
It was never,
You say you didn't sign that.
No, Your Honor. Whenever I got out there to the hospital, after she had him, because she had him at home.
You had Mac Jr. at home, Miss Harper?
Yes, Your Honor, but Mr. Senior came to the hospital, took pictures. The nurse brought the
I came to the hospital, took
birth
pictures.
certificate
I did
up
not
there
never
for him
see
to sign,
no.
and he
I
signed
did not
the
never
birth
see
certificate.
no.
And did
birth
you
certificate.
witness it?
I witnessed.
You saw him sign
No,
that
I did not
yourself.
sign no
Honor.
birth certificate.
You remember having a relationship. He'd come get you, take you with him.
Yeah. Gave him a birthday party.
How old were you then?
About 7 to 11. Since 2005, out of 10 years, I've only seen him 3 years.
I
His
hadn't seen him
exact
in so many years because she wouldn't allow me to. They moved out of town. They moved out of the town where I lived at. They moved so far away, I would have to catch a Greyhound to get there.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Because I'm physically,
Your Honor.
Your Honor.
because I don't have the money to get there with.
Yeah.
Because child support is taking all my money.
Is this about the money you feel like you do not owe? Or is this about the fact that you truly have doubts as to whether or not this young man is your biological child?
I have doubts that he is my biological child. I mean, as far as the child support money, if I find out that he is my biological child, I don't mind paying it.
Yeah.
I've been paying it all this long anyway.
Why is it you didn't do more to make contact? He says he's seen you 3 times.
In 10 years.
I mean, that is in 10 years?
Well, I don't have a car to get around with because of the child support. It's taking everything I got.
You got a cell
You got a
phone.
cell phone.
I talk to him. He won't talk to me.
I used to try to talk to him every day. I used to call my sister every day or every other day trying to get in touch with him.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you wanted a relationship with him. You wanted to know him.
Yeah, at the time I actually wanted him in my life.
Mr. Harper, you say your daughter from a previous relationship,
Yes.
your biological daughter,
Yes.
is here, is going to join us in the courtroom.
Yes, ma'am.
Via Skype, because she could not be here today in court.
Yes, because she just had a baby.
But she has testimony to offer that would further your claim.
Yes.
Ms. Harper?
Hi.
Hello, thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on the new baby.
Thank you.
We appreciate you still making your court appearance, even if it is via Skype. I see you're very emotional, ma'am. Please tell me, what are you feeling? Do you believe Mac Jr. is your brother?
In a way, I don't.
In a way
I
you don't?
No.
Please tell the court why.
I've witnessed her flirting around and engaging in all different types of sexual contact with other men.
Specifically, what happened? What did you witness?
Well, for one, I was about between the ages of 11 and 12. I was with her at her sister's house, And I remember the night before, there were a bunch of men at that apartment. And I remember going to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning, and I heard a man's voice in that room along with hers. And I went to sit up on the bed, and I leaned over. I couldn't see who the person was, but I heard their voice. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like my dad's voice.
So what you believe you heard was Miss Harper either in the bed or in the bedroom at least with a man that was not your father.
Correct.
Miss Harper, do you remember this incident?
No, Your Honor, I sure don't.
In the case of Harper Sr. versus Harper Jr., when it comes to 20-year-old Mac Harper Jr., it has been determined by this court, Mr. Harper Sr.,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are his father.
All right.
Now, will you please step up and be a dad to your son?
Yes, I will, if he'll allow me to. If he'll allow me to, I'll be there for him.
You now have confirmed that he's in fact your biological father. And the things you felt all of these years have been validated. And you deserve an opportunity to tell him that directly. Tell him.
It took 20 years for you to try to figure out that you was my dad. Where was you at when I needed you the most?
Mr. Harper?
If you allow me, I'll try to be in your life. If not, then I'll just try to keep in contact with you the best way I can, okay?
As best as I can. That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
He's not gonna allow
That's
me
not
to be,
good enough.
He's not gonna allow me to be in
That's
his
not
life.
good enough. What you have to say, Mr. Harper Sr., is I will be right here. I will keep trying to get in contact with you. I will not rest until I am given the opportunity to make up for the time I've lost. Mr. Robinson, you and your wife say you are not the father of the defendant's son, Travaris, but know who is.
Yes, Your
You
Honor.
claim she deceived you into believing you were the father to collect child support, and as a result of your inability to pay, your driver's license was suspended and your tax return was taken.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today, you're suing Ms. Grant for $124 for license reinstatement fees and plan to return to court in your home state to fight for $1,685.10 in garnished wages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Grant, you believe Mr. Robinson is denying your son only because he was summoned to pay more than $13,000 in back child support. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Robinson, how has this situation affected your marriage?
We had got a letter in mail saying that he was $13,000 arrearage in back-time child support.
So before this letter, you didn't know he was even the father?
Well, when me and him met and got married in 2009, he told me he had 3 children.
Okay.
And he was not in their life. I made him get in their life. Told him that you doing for my kids, you need to do for your own.
Your Honor,
All
that's
of a
not
sudden,
You say that's not true, Ms.
No.
Grant?
My son never went around them.
yes, he did.
Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything.
Yeah, he did sign
And
the
then
paper, but he
when
didn't sign the
when I
birth
was in the
certificate.
hospital,
Well, you
He
had-
didn't
you
sign
said
the
you
birth
have proof?
certificate.
Yes. He had the opportunity.
What is this
then.
paperwork?
That is where he signed and say that is his child, and he states that he would pay $60 a month for his child.
This is an affidavit, an admission of paternity, which is basically an acknowledgement of paternity. Did you sign this, sir? That's your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old was Mr. Christian Travaris when this was signed?
I think he was a couple of months, Your Honor.
So this was right after he was born?
Right. And during that time, Dexter was acknowledging that that was his child. I mean, he was coming there. We was going places together. He brought stuff. I mean, we was like as a family. I mean, yeah, he had another family also, but he played the role as a father during then. A year after my child was born, that's when Dexter went his separate ways and his family started saying he wasn't his and all that.
So take me back. I want to understand this relationship a little bit. You all met and you started a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long after that did you realize you were pregnant?
We started dating October the 7th, 1989. And
They were not never in a relationship.
Your Honor, yes, we are. And as a matter of fact, where was you in 1989 when we was together?
Well,
How did you know what was going on?
I'm with him now.
Dexter, I slept with you. I did not sleep with your
Well,
wife. Could you
well,
please tell her that we was
it's my
together?
responsibility now because of
Where's we
09.
together?
Ms. Grant, how did this develop into a sexual relationship?
He asked me, he said, you know my birthday is next month. And I said, no. He said, yeah, it's November the 28th. He said, can we get together for my birthday? So in November, we got together at my cousin's house in the back seat of his Burgundy Bonneville, and that's where Travaris was conceived.
You went up and you signed the acknowledgement of paternity. When did you become doubtful?
2 years ago, when this other man approached him and told him that he was the father.
When they
So,
got
Mr.
the paper,
Robinson.
they had to pay $13,000, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Robinson, at some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this was just 2 years ago?
Yes, Your Honor.
So all of these years, over 20 years, you thought Mr. Christian was your son and you were paying support?
Yes, Your Honor. This guy, Mr. Eddie, came and told me Montez was his son. But out of all this time, I really thought Montez was my son.
And then what happened after that?
Mr. Robinson came home and told me about it.
This man that they're claiming walked up to him and said, I'm really Mr. Christian's father. Do you know who this man is?
I do know him, Your Honor.
And did you have a sexual relationship with him?
Prior to the conceived of Travaris.
So before Mr. Christian was conceived, you were in a sexual relationship with this other man?
Yes.
And that is Mr. Ellis?
That is,
I want to hear from him. Mr. Ellis, thank you for being here today. We are, of course, discussing the paternity as it relates to Mr. Christian. And we've heard testimony that says you approached Mr. Robinson at some point and said, I'm Mr. Christian's father.
Well,
did that happen?
No, that's a lie. He approached me. He came to me and he said, I heard that Montez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers. So that's on you. You know, I feel that he is my son because of his mom had approached me and said once.
And I never, Your Honor, I never in my life told him that he was.
Yes, you have.
Miss Grant, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Let me hear his testimony first. Mr. Ellis, proceed.
He used to stay with my mom, and all y'all, we call me Pops and whatnot, so hey, I feel he my son, you know?
So you acknowledge that you had a sexual relationship with Miss Grant, and was it during the window of time when Mr. Christian was conceived? You believe that?
Yes.
What did Miss Grant say to you that made you believe that you were
He told me to go get my son out the tree.
All right. So, Mr. Christian, who did you call or regard as your father growing up?
Eddie most of the time.
That would be Mr. Ellis.
Yes, ma'am.
When you thought about dad, when you thought about father, you thought about him.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that Mr. Robinson was paying child support?
No, ma'am.
You never knew that?
Neither one of them actually did anything. Like, I just, referred to him as more of a father because his family, like he said, they reached out towards me more.
Yep.
Mr. Ellis's?
Yes.
And what about your relationship with Mr. Robinson and his family?
There was no relationship with me and his family.
So you felt rejected by his family?
Yes, ma'am.
And they would tell you you're not.
When did you send me money?
We sent you money to Western Union.
When?
Back in 09.
You show me a receipt and I'll tell you that I'm a lie.
You say you've never received any
Never
money.
received money from either one of them. Throughout college, throughout everything. Like, I got a full athletic scholarship, running track at Mississippi State. Everything for me in college was paid for. Like, although I thank my mom for all she's done, she went on to finish high school, took college courses, been working at the hospital since I was 8. But, that's all I ever had was my mom. Like, true enough, he started trying to interact with me more, like he said, when I was around his family. And that's Eddie, of course. Yes. But Dexter never did anything for me. I never had a real father figure in my life. You know, both of them basically made bad decisions coming up. Like, true enough, he stayed in Michigan and he stayed basically 10 miles away, and I never even had a relationship with him at all.
In the case of Robinson versus Grant, when it comes to 24-year-old Travaris Christian, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father. Mr. Dexter Robinson, you are not the father.
Thanks God.
Is nobody else?
There has to be at least one more. And I know that's a long time to think back. I think you got some thinking to do. You have an amazing young man here. It's about finding out the answers for your child. He deserves that. Mr. Robinson, Ms. Robinson, I need to inform you that there is no guarantee that you will be released from your obligation to pay those arrears, because under the law, when you sign that acknowledgement of paternity voluntarily, you're responsible. Are you all right, Mr. Christian?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm fine. I'm a grown man now. I moved on with life. It hurt, like, for Eddie not to be my father, simply because his family, they look at me more like as a family member.
I'ma still be in your life, either way it go.
I appreciate that.